that becomes an asset. But if you're just buying it for yourself and you're just living in it, that's actually a liability despite the fact that it's the same housing. So it's actually really subtle. It's confusing because a house can be both an asset or liability depending on what you do.
One of the things I found is that when people are locking so much of their equity in the house, they think that, oh, I'm generating so much wealth and like I just need to sell it and it's going to be fine, right? The thing is, everything is in one asset. Like you can't just take off part of the window or take off part of the shingle, and when you lose your job and then sell that, it's all or nothing. You have to sell the entire house, and when you sell it, you get hit with real estate commissions, you get hit with all these closing costs, right?
Taxes
so
and whatever.
yeah, so it really is like if you're not like real estate investing properly and you're just buying it for yourself to live in the house, it's really not diversified. You have everything in one place. If anything happens to the house, then all your assets are gone, right? Because it's not diversified. So that's the thing that I think people are so obsessed with, the whole like the value of it is going up, therefore I'm making money, but you don't see that money until you actually sell it, and you have to sell the entire thing. You can't just keep part of it, right? So
and culturally, I mean, like especially for Chinese culture, if you buy a house and you sell that house later on, even at a profit, you have to go buy another house because you can't go back to renting because that would be
it's
crazy,
an emotional decision,
right?
Yeah.
So think about this. If, housing, even if it's worth a lot of money, you can't actually use it to retire. If you had $1 million house versus $1 million portfolio and you lose your job, one actually means that you don't have to work again. The other, you can't really do anything with it because you have to sell it.
You have to sell it, and then you get cut with like closing costs.
Yeah, so it's actually not useful. So that's the danger.
You still have to invest it, right? Because like, how is that money going to generate more money when you sell
Because
it?
a lot of Chinese culture people, they think if they pay for a house after 25 years, the house is mine. But when I pay for a portfolio, I don't know if the portfolio is going to make us money because we're not taught to investing in the school.
Right. Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, think about it this way: when because we buy the index, and the index includes a lot of banks and that kind of stuff. When people go and like I talked a little bit about things like preferred shares and REITs and this kind of stuff that pay us a yield of like 4 or 5% every year. A lot of that money comes from mortgages that other people have. So when other people go and they pay their mortgage to their bank, a little piece of that money comes to me, and then I go off to Thailand and I go spend that on traveling. So that's the big difference between an investment that pays you versus an investment that you have to pay it. So so housing can be really destructive to your FI journey if you let it.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned Rich Dad Poor Dad, because I was reading one of his like follow-up books, which is the Cash Flow Quadrant, and he's drawing the thing that I really like is when he draws that quadrant, and he's saying like if you're an employee versus self-employed versus like if you're a business person or an investor, it like really makes a difference in terms of how the income comes in, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're an employee or if you're if you're like a doctor or something like that, you're self-employed. The thing is, the amount of hours you put in is the amount of money that you get out, right? If you stop working, the money stops coming in. Versus if you're on the other side of the quadrant, which is if you're a business owner or you're an investor, you're not working and the money still comes in, which is exactly what's happening. We are talking to you right now and the money is coming in. Like the portfolio is making money. The money is making more money and we're not working, right? So when I read that book, like at the time, before we really started getting into investing, I didn't quite understand that concept. And I was like, how is that possible? Like, how is it possible that you could not be there and the money just makes money? But then now you're actually living proof that that concept is absolutely true. Like there's a huge difference between putting in the hours and you only have a limited number of hours in the day, so you're capped at how much money you can make, versus you're sitting here not working and the money just keeps generating. It really makes a huge difference. So yeah, that concept is definitely proven by people who actually understand how to start a business and understand investing. So I would advise like your readers, like younger people, to think about how do you move from one side to the other. And it's not going to be instantaneously. Like you can't think about get rich quick schemes. Like those don't work. You can't just like think about I'll just start a business and I'll just make $1 million. I tried, believe me, it didn't work. So you need to be like moving from one side to the other. Like you accumulate the cash and then the cash actually works harder than you do.
I think everyone has tried to start a business and make $1 million in a week.
Exactly.
We try, so
yeah, it's
don't
very
do it.
difficult. And the thing is, like when people say I'm going to start the next Snapchat, it's like, well, Snapchat already exists. You can try to do it again, but it already exists. So why?
That's a lot of people say now. I'm the next Uber.
I'm the next so-and-so. Yeah. It's like, but they already exist.
Yeah.
So why reinvent the wheel and expect to succeed when it already exists?
I'm sure you're noticing now, it's hard running a business.
Really hard.
It's really hard doing all this kind of stuff, like it's really hard trying to make your own money. It takes a lot of time in which you're not getting paid at all.
Yep.
And it takes many years of like, you know, grinding in order to get even just a little bit of income. And after a while, it starts to build and build and build and build and build for the successful ones. But the nasty thing about that is when you are hearing stories of other people that have started businesses, you're only hearing the people bragging about the ones that have done it successfully and have worked for many, many years. They never talk about all the years where they're living in their parents' basement going, I am in so much trouble, I don't know how to get out of this. Like, they don't talk about that initial part of the journey, and it's not fun at all.
Yeah. So I think gliding out towards financial independence is the best path, where you're saving money, you're working full time, but then if you make a little bit of money from your passive income, like as you grow that and your portfolio grows over time, once you have enough, like part of it is covered by your side hustle and part of it is covered by your portfolio, you're basically free.
Yeah.
So it's like, try not to do just like 180 degrees in either direction. It's like glide out. As soon as you start making more money and then you grow your portfolio, and eventually like you will reach the point in which you're free. And you're also working on your passion. Like that's the best of both worlds. Rather than just like, you know, trying to like be like the next millionaire, be the next Bill Gates. It's really difficult to do that. And the chances of that happening is like, you might as well try winning the lottery. It's just very unlikely that that's going to happen. Most people will be able to reproduce the path of like saving money, getting a passive income from investing while working on their passion, which generates a little bit of income. And together, those two tools will help you become free.
I think one of my way to do it is not trying to reinvent the wheel, but trying to copy what other people already succeed. Like you guys, I'm basically just doing what you guys are doing. So
the nice thing about our approach is that, you know, if we were a business owner and then I had made Uber or something like that, you can't copy me.
Yeah, no.
Because I already
You're
beat you to it.
already winning, yeah.
But if you do what we did, it doesn't take anything away from us. Like you can come along and do the exact same thing. You can become and then you become financially independent, and it doesn't actually affect us at all.
Yeah,
So
it's not like a competing thing where you start a
We're not
business.
competing with each
You have to be like really stressed out because there's so many people that are getting into your space, right? And you're competitors with them. Versus with financial independence, I can become financially independent. You can become financially.
Yeah.
Somebody else becomes financially independent. It doesn't take away from me. It doesn't mean I have to compete with them to become financially independent. So it really is like everybody can have a piece of the pie rather than we're all fighting, like for customers, and we're all fighting.
we don't need to fight.
Exactly. We can be friends.
we can all win together.
Yeah.
I think we covered all of it.
Yeah.
It's quite extensive.
Yes.
So a lot of people also interested in what is your normal day like. In Chinese culture, retire is like a negative word.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah, it's like you're old, you're retired.
Yeah.
You go to the hospital,
Just
you go
waiting
to
to die.
You're waiting.
So what's your day now?
That's a great question. I mean, that's one of the things that my parents were wondering, right? It's like, are you going to be lazy now? Are you just going to be useless to society? Like, that's not good. So what I ended up finding is that people who are high performing, who end up becoming financially independent, generally don't sit around and do nothing, right? Because how else would we even have amassed money to become financially independent if we're just okay with sitting around doing nothing?
Yeah.
So what we started doing our first year of traveling, we didn't start the blog yet. We did mostly volunteer work. So we used the skills that we gained as programmers, and we actually made an app for a nonprofit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we worked with like a group of people that what they do is they try to bring more diversity to children's literature, right? So more books published by people of color, people that are of like marginalized backgrounds. So that was like really good to have that ability to give back, to have the time to actually work on something that you're passionate about and something that actually helps the world, right?
We also started teaching girls how to code.
Yeah, so there's so we're mentoring for a contest called Technovation. It's an all-girls programming competition, and you get into groups and you have a mentor where you teach a girl how to make an app, right? And the girl that we were mentoring, she made an app that's like an environmental app that teaches children how to recycle.
Oh,
so like
wow.
how to turn lights on and how to turn lights off. So that was like very rewarding because it wasn't like, for once it wasn't like, oh, let's just go out and make money. It's just about the money, right? It really is like it feeds your soul and not just like feeds your wallet, right? So there's like a lot of things that you can do to be giving back to the world now that you're not struggling to survive and just pay for food. Another thing that we do that we realized is that when you're working, you kind of have a small like group of people that you interact with within your particular field, right? But once you become retired, especially when you're traveling, you end up meeting a lot of people from different communities that you never would have thought existed. Like for one of the people that we met that we found were fascinating is we met a woman in Mexico, and she's part of a community called World Schoolers. So what they do is they travel the world with their children, and they use the world as the classroom to teach their children, about different languages, about history. Like, for example, learning about the Vietnamese War, which they actually call the American War in Vietnam, right? You would never have seen their side of the story without actually bringing their kids to Vietnam and actually learning about the actual history. So it's like amazing groups of people that it really opens up your eyes when you become financially independent, that you can do things to like give back to the community. You can do volunteer work. You can meet people outside of your circle. So it opens up your mind to like other ways of living and other lifestyles. And I find that our relationships with our parents and our relationships with our friends have gotten a lot better, because whenever I used to go out with friends or parents, it was always like texting on the phone, like, oh, hold on, I have a call from work, just a second, and I would go like work on my computer, and it was never really like this engaging kind of like being there, right? It was really just like thinking about work all the time. So I think one of the things that's really helped out is like having that not thinking about work and actually like being with your friends and like spending that quality time together. So to answer your question, our days generally are very varied. Like it changes a lot. So sometimes we'll have like calls with friends back home on Skype. Sometimes we will go out and like explore the city. Sometimes we'll try to learn a new language. Like took some Spanish lessons when we were in Mexico. Sometimes we'll work on the book. So the incredible thing is that how our day unfolds always changes. So it's like never boring. It's not like go to work, do this from this time to this time, and then every day is the same. And then a year of your life goes by and you're like, where did my life go? I don't even remember anything from this year, right? Totally. Versus now, it's like every single day I remember so many things that we ended up doing because I chose to do those things rather than I was forced to do things like, in chunks. So so it really changes depending on where we are. And the best part is about meeting people like all over the world. So
yeah, but we're always busy. We're always like these days we're doing like a lot of the work that we're doing is like, right now we're working on like the blog because we want to teach people how to do this themselves. Yeah. Because we believe that everybody should know how to do this, even if they choose not to. Yeah. It's just like this whole fire stuff is just too cool to not share, right? So but there's a lot of teaching that has to get done. As we were talking about, it's kind of like they don't teach how to invest in schools. So we kind of have to show people how to build a portfolio, how to do all that kind of stuff. But yeah, we're always busy, and we keep meeting random people all over the world like you, and coming to see us. And
thank you.
And sometimes they ask us to do interviews, and of course we have to.
Thank you for coming today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. It's been a blast. We find that whenever we talk to people who are interested about finances, like the conversation usually goes on for hours, right? Because it's like when you meet somebody who understands like that type of lifestyle, and it really you feel like a rapport with that person, and then you end up having a really long conversation. So it's very engaging.
Yeah. Thank you for coming. So I think that should be about it.
Yeah.
No more questions left. And when you reply my message on Facebook, you have no idea how happy I was. I was so excited. I was screaming and like, and I told them like I'm gonna get them on this channel no matter what. I'm gonna go like go to the house, knock on the door. I don't care if they say no. Yeah, I'm really glad you come here today.
Well, yeah, this was a blast.
Yeah, I believe what you're doing is really it's good to like disseminate this information to as many people as possible, so they can make the choice of what they want to do with their lives and have more freedom, right? Like people shouldn't be forced to pay for that kind of advice. It should just be like financial education is a right for everyone, right? So it's really I do believe in what you're doing. I think it's really great.
Thank you.
Yeah.